Well, hello there, Kansas City. Stephen St. John here with this week's episode of Hot Mic with SSJ. Thank you so much for watching us. And again, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, be sure to like and subscribe, and you can get alerts whenever there's a new episode of Hot Mic. And also, you can listen on whatever your favorite podcast platform is, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever. Be sure to subscribe, and you can get updated whenever there's a new episode. We appreciate you watching tonight. This is our first show that's going to be live on location tonight. And so we're real happy to be here at J. Rieger and Company Distillery. It is an awesome place to come and enjoy yourself for a happy hour, to have a company event, to have a podcast. I'm enjoying a delicious horse feather from here at J. Rieger. And we're going to have a great time tonight. And you've heard me talking about this on Sports Radio 810 WHB, that we've been planning this as a special Mizzou podcast because J. Rieger was releasing something very special that Mizzou fans are going to love. They've done that today on social media, but I think I'm the first person maybe to get my hands on it to be able to show everyone here what it looks like. And it's available right now, all right, on shelves everywhere, both sides of the state line, because there's some Missouri fans in Kansas too. You better believe it. Look at this. Would you look at this beauty right here? Oh, my God. 6 columns, straight bourbon whiskey with the iconic Mizzou logo and that big paw up there. What do you guys think of this? I got former Mizzou tight end and power forward is what we'll call them for the basketball. We're already laughing. Basketball team, Andrew Jones, and also former linebacker for the Missouri Tigers, Brock Christopher, is my first two guests tonight. Fellas, those bottles are your gifts for coming down here. What do you think of the beautiful 6 columns straight bourbon whiskey bottle from J. Rieger and Company that celebrates the Missouri Tigers? How about that?
Hey, Andrew,
it's
let me
beautiful.
Take this. Let me take this. First of all, power forward it's a stretch.
Right? I couldn't think. I know that we talk about positionless basketball now, so I really couldn't.
That's
think
right.
of what
More like a
position.
Draymond Green.
Right. That's exactly right. You're a stretch four. How about that? He said it's a stretch four.
You just compare yourself. Hey, I'm LeBron. We're the same. It's fine.
The defensive intensity. So what do you guys think of the bottle?
No, it's
It's
awesome.
beautiful. I don't even want to drink it. It looks so good. But
Something tells me you might, though.
well, I'm already
Right?
drinking this beautiful glass
Right.
right next to it. So
So how about this? This one available on shelves everywhere. Your favorite store, liquor store, wherever you get your liquor. Go and get the 6 columns bourbon whiskey from J. Rieger and Company. Available right now. And you can come down here to the distillery and purchase a bottle if you'd like. And I'm going to sit this right here so you can feast your eyes on that. And so, fellas, thanks for coming down here. I had a chance. I see Andrew from time to time. I think last time I saw you was at a St. Pius X football game. And then the last time I saw you, Brock, was at the Gary Pinkel charity event down in Columbia the night before that fucking LSU game. I say that because they lost and the way they lost, but it's fine. But that night, it was a great night. And so, fellas, let's start with you, Andrew Jones. Update the Mizzou fans out there. Of course, you were a Smithville product, and you stayed local. And so tell people what Andrew Jones is up to now.
living in Parkville, 3 kids. Henry's 1, Georgia is 4, almost 5, and Carly is almost 7. My wife is the St. Therese Vikings first grade girls basketball coach this year,
yeah.
so we're having a lot of fun at practice. Last Friday night, she made them run laps because they were dribbling the ball while she was talking.
Tough love early on.
I'm in the cannabis industry, one of the owners of Fresh Karma Dispensaries and New Thera Manufacturing and Cultivation, so kind of a change up from being in the banking world. While I'm on here, I've already gotten texts, so I've got to give the boys at Station 23 over on Independence and Van Brunt a shout-out because I don't want to get beat up by anybody.
That's right.
Just enjoying life and happy that our Tigers are relevant in 2 sports for the first time in, a really long time, it feels like.
It is very exciting. Brock Christopher, how are things going for you right now, my man?
They're going well. So I live in Liberty. I've got an 11-year-old son, Kale.
Football player?
So the reason I laugh, so he's got autism, but I don't know if anybody watches Big Bang Theory.
Yeah?
That is my 11-year-old son.
So like a genius then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
He schools me daily on technology and what have you. My 7-year-old Cade is very, very into soccer. So Nate, if you're listening,
Oh boy.
You know,
Don't fucking do that.
but hey,
That's an enabler right
so
there.
So he's fucking great at soccer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's really good.
So there's something there.
We're getting him into some competitive stuff now, and
so how did this happen? Were you like, hey, let's play soccer? Were you a big soccer influence, or like, what's going on here?
Well, I don't even know what offsides means at this point.
That's fine.
I try to learn. I don't understand it, and I hate it.
You'll get there at some point.
But no, other than that, my boys are good. Yeah, just live in Liberty, and I work for a company in Kansas City. We manufacture very high-end specialty vehicles. So I manage that part of the vehicle
like
part
weed
of
delivery
it.
or something?
Well, call me, Andrew. We can make something happen.
Well,
if you
you
want.
probably wouldn't return my call, though.
I probably wouldn't, because you never call me. It's fine.
Wow. Things.
But no, other than that, Stephen, yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's been I don't think I've ever been on in Kansas City, and I fucking love this city, so I'm ecstatic.
Well, this is going to be on YouTube, so they'll be able to watch this, they'll be able to listen to us, and you can send this link to Gary Pinkel and see what he says about this. But that was let me get to that charity.
All he would do is he'd call us sorry asses.
Yeah, that's probably right. That event was awesome because Chase Daniel was there. And so that and a lot of the former teammates were there, and you guys had. I don't know how often you see some of those guys, but it was pretty cool to see so many players under one roof with Coach, and all there for a good cause and to reminisce. And I had a blast watching some of the highlights they put up there and seeing everyone's reactions. And the other thing that stood out to me, I can't believe some of these fucking offensive linemen. And what they look like now and how much weight they used to have to hold on. I didn't know who Elvis Fisher was. Someone, I kept seeing him walking around. You talking about Big E? I was like, who's that? And they go, that was, holy shit. What's that, 150 pounds less than what he used to weigh? But it's really cool to see all those guys. How was that for you to catch up with so many former teammates down there?
It was great. I talked to – so Chase Coffin was my roommate for 3 years. So him and I stay in touch. Not enough, but we do stay in touch quite a bit. Other than that, man, I haven't talked to Chase Daniel. I do stay in touch with Curtis Gregory quite a bit as he's out there campaigning.
He's making things happen.
He is.
He's a power broker, isn't he?
That's right. He's a very big supporter of our industry, so I talk to him quite a bit.
He's a mover and a shaker.
That's right.
Is he really?
Oh, yeah. I think I always sent a check to his golf tournament that no one attended. Just keep things moving and shaking.
That's right. No, Stephen, it was great. I hadn't been back. I lived in L.A. for about 4 years, well, in and out of L.A., and so I hadn't been back to Kansas City in a long time. So I'm trying to get back into more of the Missouri atmosphere of what's going on, just with former teammates and everything. So no, it was lots of laughs to be had, lots of shit given amongst each other. So, yeah, it was a blast. So
take me back to before we get to that, you guys were up enjoying a drink before the podcast started.
A few.
And you guys, there was some story that was starting about Kearney and Smithville, and you were a freshman at Smithville, and there were some threats.
And he was a senior. He was 18 years old.
So
I was 14.
he's a standout senior at Kearney, right? In a three-sport athlete. And you picked Mizzou over Ohio State and Kansas State. You had a long list, right?
I committed so early that nobody else came. Well, Notre Dame came to my high school the day after I committed, and my head coach in high school wouldn't let me talk to him. So times have changed a little bit in that regard. So I like to say that to make myself sound better. But
you were.
I had some letters,
right? And so you were. Brock Christopher, and then you're a freshman starting your journey to becoming a D1 athlete. So what happened?
Basically, I hate to bore everybody, but I made the game-winning shot. Brock was a senior. He was supposed to be guarding me.
So we're talking about basketball here.
Yeah.
You're a freshman. You're on varsity. He's a senior. He's supposed to be guarding you. And is Smithville Kearney, is that a pretty big rivalry? Is there some?
Well, they used to
between me and AJ. It was.
Kearney kicked the shit out of Smithville for so many years, and finally, we won, and
you hit the game-winning shot.
I made the game-winning shot.
Where was the game at, Smithville or Kearney?
It was at Smithville. And
describe the shot. We need to hear this. Rub it in a little bit.
A guy that Brock was talking shit about upstairs, which I don't appreciate. He's the head football coach at Lathrop High School, actually, Corey Creason. Drove down the middle lane, kind of juked out Brock. He probably almost blew his ACL out. And he passed the ball to me. I probably made an 8-foot shot, but
It was a fucking layup, dude.
it might have been a 7-foot shot. But Brock immediately starts crying as the buzzer goes off, and he starts punching the pad underneath the basketball goal. On the other side, he's acting like, a fucking gorilla that just escaped from the zoo that's got rabies or something.
Was this just a regular season game?
This is complete horseshit, by the way.
All right, okay.
So anyways, 45 minutes later, we get a message. It's like, oh, my God, Brock Christopher's told everyone he's coming back to Smithville and he's going to beat the shit out of you.
Really?
Is that true or false, Brock?
That's absolutely false.
What's your version of the story?
My version of the story is I lose the game. I don't like to lose. And I hated your ass because for some reason you're fucking big-ass, lanky, a few pounds lighter than what you are now.
I was 14, dipshit. I'm 34.
But you didn't like him?
No.
Okay.
I was not a fan.
What was the reason?
We never played him in football, but we played him in basketball, 2 or 3 times my senior year, freshman year?
Yeah.
I feel like it was 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, a couple times, I think.
And, he was a hassle. He was a fucking problem.
So you didn't like him.
So it was me and Andrew, on the base, and I'm the senior. I'm supposed to be this athlete.
I mean, this is an 18-year-old man with chest hair, and I'm 14. I can't grow armpit hair.
Right.
I think that's debatable. But anyway. No, so we end up losing. I thought Corey had the shot underneath, but apparently it was you. Anyway, I walk into
Did you cry, though?
I did not cry. I walked into the locker room and punched the door as hard as I could, and my coach was like, Brock, you're going to Mizzou. Stop doing this. I'm like, I want to. So anyway, shower up, get back on the bus, and we get a phone call in the back of the bus, and I'm furious, and it was like, hey, Andrew Jones wants to come fight you. I'm like, take me back to my fucking 9150 Mustang. I'm about to scream over to Smithville.
So someone tells you that he wants to fight you. So did you guys ever find out who was doing this? So somebody was jacking with both of you, apparently. Someone's telling you that he wants to fight you, and someone's telling you he wants to fight you.
Well, I didn't want to kick the shit out of him because, eventually I wanted to go to Mizzou and play football, so I didn't want the future middle linebacker to, be in a wheelchair or anything the rest of his life.
So at that point when you were 14, you knew you wanted to go to Mizzou?
Yeah, I mean, I love Mizzou. I grew up as a Mizzou fan, and, someone just called me the other day, and they're like, do you remember the time that Brad Smith had that long run? Do you remember what team it was? I was like, yeah, it was Illinois. It was the first game of the season.
Right.
When he kind of broke out. So, yeah, I've always watched Missouri. I'm trying to instill that in my kids, and they wonder why Dad's screaming, fuck at the TV whenever the quarterback throws an interception to the, defensive lineman and stuff like that.
Yeah, to a 350-pound defensive lineman for no reason. And so nothing happened then, right?
No, nothing happened. I probably just got back to Kearney and revved my Mustang up, and that's about it.
When was the next time you crossed paths?
Drink a six-pack of Natty and
I
have
think
some
the
Grizzly?
next time we probably. I think next time was probably at Mizzou, because I was like, oh my God, fucking Andrew Jones, he's this massive recruit, right? He's got offers from everybody. I'm like,
4-star tight end.
I'm like, why the fuck is he coming here? And he got there, and I was like, okay, Andrew's a decent guy, apparently.
Yeah, this guy, he lived above him and Kaufman lived above Jimmy John's downtown, so that was kind of the party spot. So regardless if Brock wanted me over or not, I was coming to party, because wherever there's a party, I'm going.
But then you guys didn't have any problems once you got to Mizzou?
No.
You figured things out?
No, he got a little more mature, and I just kept doing what I was doing.
Well, the main thing was I was on the first team for 3 years, and Andrew's on the third team, so we didn't really play each other that much. It's fine.
So Andrew, so you just keep it going.
You fucking prick.
So you said you love Mizzou, right? But was it always for you? Like he said, he committed to Mizzou so early, there really wasn't much of a process. Was there any recruiting process for you? Was it always Mizzou and that was it? And what was that like?
So I left. I actually left Oklahoma. Oklahoma was the first school that actually offered me a scholarship, and I left. It was summer camp, or I can't remember what it was at Oklahoma. My football coach took me, and I told the coach, I'm like, yeah, I'm coming. I love it. I'm coming. I got back home, and my mom's like, no, you're not. She's like, you're not going anywhere that's not 2 hours east on I-70. I'm like, all right, well, that sounds good. It was pretty cool for the 4-hour drive home, but then I realized, I'm from here, so I.
But you weren't mad that she said that? You were good with it?
Oh, absolutely. Plus at the time, I mean, they had, I grew up watching Rieger and Kaufman. I was a freshman when Kaufman was
he was tight end you.
senior, and the best game of my career was my freshman year, and the only reason why I had 7 catches was because Kaufman literally stubbed his toe in warm-ups, and it was too late to change the game plan.
Right.
So, I mean, they had to keep calling the plays, up at Iowa State. So, CC, I appreciate you texting me on my birthday the other day, and, I appreciate you getting that turf toe your senior year so I could get in the game a little bit so I could, get some free beers at the bar and, have some more chicks talk to me.
So who did Andy Hill recruit both of you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's texting me right now, making sure there's a sensor button on the sensor delay on the radio.
There's not. But Andy, for a long stretch, had the reputation of being a great recruiter and won a bunch of recruiting battles in the state of Missouri and especially around the Kansas City area.
Well, Steven, I'll tell the story. I think it was me and Kaufman's senior year in high school, and we had battled for the last 3 years. And I must not like many people. I fucking hated Chase. He's the nicest human being you've ever met in your life.
Yeah.
Like us, Carney and Ray Peck.
He's too nice, actually.
Just butted heads. And it was always big games, always the game of the week, whatever. And so I will never forget when I got my room assignment in the dorms. It was fucking Kaufman. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Right.
And so we go meet Paul and Chase and Cameron and Carson were, God, they were young.
And Paul's a nice guy too.
I didn't like him either, though.
Right?
He's a K-Stater.
It's just like,
Did he? I'm starting to see the pattern here of Brock not fucking liking anybody.
He doesn't play well with others.
and so me and Chase lived in our dorm room. It was maybe a 12 by 12 dorm room with bunk beds. The desk. You know how it goes.
Sure.
Was it South Hall?
And I feel like we were like, what was the movie I'm trying to think of where it's like we met? It's Step Brothers. Like we were like, hi. You have to call me Dragon. That was kind of what it was like. Like we started hanging out. Obviously, we've been really good friends ever since. But yeah, he what an unbelievable player. But me and Chase hated each other. Or I hated him. I don't know how he felt about me.
There's no way he hated you. Kaufman doesn't dislike anybody.
He doesn't hate.
He's actually so nice. He'll text me just randomly like the nicest stuff ever, and I'll be like,
just like motivational,
No, just like, I'm so sorry I texted you one day late on your birthday.
Oh, he's a nice guy.
I'm like, Christ, you're
a
lot nicer guy than I am.
So if I asked you guys, if somebody asked you, okay, Gary Pinkel, right? How would you describe Gary Pinkel? What was it like to play for Gary Pinkel?
So I actually this past summer, I went down to the lake to play golf with Mark Finner and
my man Mark
and Coach Pinkel, and we're sitting at the bar and having some drinks afterwards. We're playing down at Porta Chima, and he was giving us a totally different side that I had ever seen. Really just being transparent. Not that he wasn't transparent, but just talking. A different light, because I wasn't the player anymore, even though I was scared at any moment he was going to make me do some up downs or something. Right. And my buddy Wade went, and he was like, God, you're terrified of this guy still. I'm like, yeah, I mean, he was a CEO. He could cancel you real quick. But, I mean, he just look at the record, look at the players that went to the NFL. I mean, look at the success of the players, that didn't go to the NFL in our lives afterwards. I mean, I would say his track record speaks for itself. I mean, look at Brock and I. I mean, no offense, Brock, but you're a dipshit, and I'm probably a bigger dipshit. And, we both have kids. We both have careers. Both have families.
Yeah.
So I think, he was probably what most kids our age needed, even though at the time we probably didn't think everything he was doing was what we wanted. But, he ultimately knew what we needed, and I think, it got us whether it was the mat drills in the winter or, whatever else
fucking terrible.
They called it the fucking reminders or wherever, where you had to push the board across the field if you did something stupid or got in a fight at Waffle House like I did and had to do that.
Who'd you get in a fight at Waffle House with?
Well,
Brock was it?
It wasn't me. I was probably getting ready for a game. It's fine.
One of the guys' names is Will Ebner. The other guy's name I can't say, but I'll just give you a hint. He's number 9. He plays on a team here locally as the backup quarterback, but he doesn't have a name that we'll talk about.
Wait, with or against?
With.
Oh, okay.
With.
All right,
You know,
all right.
Somehow I messaged Andy Hill at 6:30 in the morning, like, hey, you know, not sure what happened. It spiraled out of control. We got in a fist fight at Waffle House at 3:45 in the morning after the Pi Phi formal. No one got hurt except me. I got the shit kicked out of me.
Oh, wow.
First question, how's Blaine?
He didn't care about it. Okay, that's fine.
He said,
That's the right question, though.
He says, all right, Coach Steck, the linebackers coach, he's already aware that Will was a part of this. You guys, we'll see you Monday morning at 5:30. So I strengthened up my hamstrings and legs pretty good the next couple of weeks, pushing a 2x4 across the football field that winter. So that was a good time.
So Brock, what do you say if someone asked you what was it like to play for Gary Pinkel?
Yeah, I mean, he was the ultimate CEO, right? It was clearly the guy knew what he was doing, but it was if Brock's socks aren't high enough at the field or at practice, Dave Steckel's being like, pull your fucking socks up, man. Like, I'm tired of hearing about this shit. It was like, that was kind of what it was like, and it was, you played for your position coach. So me and Dave Steckel still text multiple times a year. I never got into a fight ever, like Big AJ over here, but Dave was always like, if you get into a fight, if you get arrested, if you get into trouble, you don't call your mom, you don't call your dad, you don't call your brother, you call me immediately. And so that was always kind of that's kind of how it went. And the amount of guys that Gary Pinkel was able to pull in that were not big recruits. And I'll talk about Sean Weatherspoon here in a little bit. Denario Alexander's. Yeah, obviously you had your Macklins, you had your Chase Daniels, you had the big-time recruits, but it was
like 2-star guys.
It was the guys that he was able to get that, like, would show up and be like, who is this guy?
Jared Perry, like, he had 40 catches as a true freshman. No one's ever heard of him. He weighed 135 pounds, literally.
It would piss me off because they would show up, like, these younger kids when I was, like, a junior. They got, this kid's a no, whatever, because you keep track of it. Like, who were our recruiting class, who we're bringing in. And it's like, man, like, who? And then, like, the kid gets on the field and it's like, Jesus Christ, like, God, this kid's going to be freaking good.
Right.
Like Denario.
He was a freak.
I always tell the story. We went to I got two stories about it, but when Denario got to Mizzou, there was like a pickup basketball game like at the rec. And that motherfucker would take one step, go between his legs, like 360, and hammer dunk it. I watched him jump like a 47.5 inches on his vertical as a 6'4" kid that ran sub 4.4. Like, how was he a 2-star recruit from Marlin, Texas?
Yeah, same with me.
Just,
I mean,
I've never seen anything like it.
My first summer at the rec center playing basketball, you know, a tight end in my same class, Mike Legnew, I was like, he didn't know how to play football when he got there. He was 6'6", and then I found out he was the Texas State triple jump champion. And he gets the ball one step in front of half court, takes one dribble, and he's hammering it with two hands from the free throw line. I'm like, oh, fuck, I got about 2 years to play before he figures out how to play football, then I'm fucked.
And he ended up as a third-round pick
in
the NFL draft.
And I ended up as I had a life sentence on the second team after he figured out how to play football.
And for people that don't remember, Denario Alexander, in 2009, 113 catches, 1,781 yards, and 14 touchdowns.
That's absurd.
So, like, you think about, like, the kind of year that Luther Burden is having right now. We're 9 games in, and he still hasn't hit 1,000 yards. He will, hopefully, this weekend. But, I mean, 1,781 yards. That's unbelievable. And
what year was that, Stephen? That was
2009.
So that was my sophomore year. So that was actually the year that I started all the games. And I'll never forget, we were at K-State.
And he was incredible.
I think he had 200-some-odd yards. And they had this crazy idea. We're going to cover Denario with a safety. This safety went on to
play. That was Ron Prince back then.
This safety went on to play in the NFL. It was Tyson Hartman. He played for the Chiefs for a couple of years. Blocked a couple of field goals, actually, I think. And we were just – I mean, he was just mossing everybody. It was nuts how incredible – I mean, you could throw him a swing pass, 70 yards, guaranteed. I mean, it was just crazy how talented he was. And I mean, he was a great guy too. He worked.
Best fucking dude.
He worked extremely hard. People think that it was just all God. Well, it was all God given, but the guy worked hard. He also blew his knee out 3 or 4 times. People don't realize that. The rehab, the work that he had to put in was just insane.
And he had some moments in the NFL.
Didn't he have over 1,000 yards for the Chargers one year?
I have told people multiple times, if Denario Alexander is 100% healthy in college and in the NFL,
he is Randy Moss.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
That year
He's
against
in the Hall of Fame.
Baylor, he had 13 for 214. Against K-State, 10 catches, 200 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And against KU, 15 catches, 233 yards.
You bet.
15 for 233. He had in a 4-week span, he had 3 200-yard games. Can you imagine someone did that like right now?
That's pretty good, right?
Well, it's
probably transfer.
It's amazing. I think that's probably the greatest.
Can you imagine his NIL money? I mean,
no. But like Macklin was great. Macklin's probably the best receiver that I've seen in my life at Mizzou. But that was the best year. That was the best single year. Because how could you top that?
I mean, what? Speaking of NIL, Brock would have went to Mizzou for a log of Grizzly chewing tobacco. And
what would your NIL be right now? What do you think?
I mean, 2 cases of Miller Lite, maybe a box of Cohibas.
Okay.
Maybe some Macanudos. I don't know.
All right. Let's talk about a favorite moment. What was the favorite moment of your career at Mizzou? Andrew Jones.
Oh, I mean, shit, there's a lot of them.
Individual moment. Favorite play. Favorite something
I'll take
you did.
this. I'll take this one first.
Okay.
Because you're still thinking.
Well, I know what my favorite moment that you had.
Fucking at Nebraska, pick
six, baby. Let's go.
Joe Gans. I think it was cover 3.
That was in October.
Well, Steve,
or not October, in 08. Right? October
It was
of 08.
Yeah.
It was 08. It was when you put up 50 on the what was it?
52 to 17.
Roll up there. It was cover 3. I still watch the highlights from time to time. God, I'm like a fucking loser.
So
no. So it was cover 3, and he rolled out, and cover 3 landmark is the middle of the hashes for a middle linebacker, and I'm like, the fucker doesn't see me, and he just chucked it up. And like I have told my mom and my dad, and myself, my goal is I gotta score a damn touchdown before I'm out of here, and that was my senior year. And he fucking tossed it to me, and like Roy Helu Jr. tried to tackle me, and I just gave him a little jig.
But to do that at Nebraska in a night game, prime time, right?
Yeah, that game was incredible. I'll never forget. I got cussed out pretty good by the tight end coach that game, Coach Walker.
Who, Bruce?
Oh yeah, I had a couple catches, and one of the catches, I came off the field and they had offsides, and I got like 7 or 8 yards. But Coach Pinkel accepted the penalty.
Right.
I came on, I'm like, why the fuck did he accept the penalty? Now it's not a catch.
You lost your stats.
And Coach Walker, he cussed me out bad because he's like, if Coach Pinkel heard that, you wouldn't be here anymore.
Right.
I'm like, okay. My bad.
So then what was your favorite individual moment? Or if you want to say a team moment, whatever. Your favorite moment.
Shit, my favorite team moment, without a doubt, was homecoming in 10 when we beat Oklahoma.
Oh, wow. College game day and everything.
Yeah.
God, I was overserved. That was the year after I graduated.
I will never forget when Alden Smith had the sack fumble, picked it up.
How about the opening kickoff?
Yeah, of John McGaffey. I mean, that was crazy. He came into my class. I mean, John's a great guy. A guy from Kansas City, actually, Joe DeSimone's his name, got me a ticket my senior year of high school to go down to the Big 12 championship in San Antonio, and John and his mom came over from Houston, so I kind of met them beforehand, and I was happy for John because he worked extremely hard his entire career, and to have that moment and to beat the shit out of Oklahoma. And the crazy thing was, like, all the fans were so drunk after the game. I'll never forget it. This one girl was so drunk. She came on the field, and we're all trying to get to the locker room. We never actually got to the locker room. There was no post-game speech. There was no nothing.
Really?
Some girl took my mouthpiece out of my helmet and put it in her mouth. I shit you not. And 5 seconds later, she throws up everywhere.
Well, wow.
And I'm like, well, I guess I'll just have to go talk to Rex Sharp, the trainer, and get a new mouthpiece for practice.
Rex! We've got several Mizzou fans out here with stunned looks on their faces as you guys are. I'm not sure these are the stories they're ready for, but these are the stories they're getting tonight.
Yeah.
It's those that have not been told before.
This is team transparency up here. You know, we're the no bullshit squad. You have to wait till Jarrett Sutton comes up here to talk about how he wishes he was in NSYNC or Backstreet Boys or whatever you want to say to get those stories.
Steven, I would say that team-wise, the Armageddon game was like.
Oh wow.
Because I grew up in a town of 300 people in St. Elizabeth, Mo.
Shout out to the Lukenhoffs.
Shout out.
It's my middle kid's godfathers from St. E.
Shout out to the Deerhoffs. No, so I grew up in this really very small town. Had I stayed in that town, I probably would have gone to Elias and played. But my dad got a job in Kearney as the principal, so we moved to Kearney, whatever. So I grew up in like a
So
town.
that's why you graduated on time. Your dad was a principal.
3.9, baby. No, so like I grew up in a town that hated Kansas. Like mid-Missouri, you hated Kansas. You were a Mizzou guy, and you hated everything about Kansas. And then so that that grows as you get older, go to high school, still hated them. Go to Mizzou, and it's like my freshman year at Mizzou is when we lost 13-3. I had a pick. It was windy as hell. The offense was just stalled out. So, like, we lost at Kansas, and it still fucking haunts me to this day. But
what year was that one?
that would have been 05.
And that's when Chase Daniel used to come in for a little bit. Yeah, now I was at that game as a fan, and I was dressed as the as fucking Burger King. Yes, you remember those Burger King commercials?
Yeah.
I'm not shitting you. And here's the deal: I have not gone back to a game at Kansas since because it was such a miserable experience for me. I had a fucking big cape and had the fucking big Burger King.
Well, do you
I was
remember
overconfident.
It was super windy.
Yeah, but Mizzou was ranked, and they're going to kick KU's ass, and Brad Smith's, and it just was fucking terrible.
Yeah, so then go to my junior year and would have been 07 Armageddon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my senior year of high school.
We leave our hotel, and like you're pulling down because I'm a massive Chiefs fan, right? Like I grew up Chiefs fan as well, and like we're pulling down into this like abyss. There's the smoke. We've got one side of the bus. It's like fuck you, like screaming at it. The other side,
it was violent in the parking lot.
It was like, and I'm like, I remember like when I got dressed early, like before I put my tops on, like run out on the field. And it was shoulder to shoulder packed, yeah. And I'm like 2 hours before the game when I'm warming up, and I'm like I'm out because I was a long snapper, back up. Thank you, Bo Brinkley.
So you get replaced.
Yes.
Shout out to Bo as well.
Shout out to Bo.
Played golf. Had a couple beers a couple weeks ago.
No, but I looked around. I took a moment. I looked around. I'm like, this is gonna be fucking.
There was no atmosphere comparable to that, right?
Zero.
See, because I was there.
Zero.
And so I had to do an appearance at a tented tailgate before, and I got there early with my wife and just driving through. I said, "This is going to be fucking bad afterwards because one of these teams is going to lose, and so someone's going to be fucking mad and it's going to get ugly." And so we go in there, and it was kind of ugly in there, and it was like the mood was just like aggressive, and it was just getting ready to fucking just spill over no matter what happened. Right? It was like a fucking it was almost like a ticking time bomb. And so we get in there, we get in our seats, and we sat over by the tunnel where the players came out. And it was the most stressful game, even though Mizzou got out to the big lead, but then Kansas started to come back because the whole time we're thinking, can't lose this fucking game to Kansas. Can't lose. I can only imagine what you guys were thinking.
It was number 4, number 2, right?
Right, and battle for number 1, right? And so
it was like 2 and 3, I think.
I remember leaving the game, and shit was on fire, like in the parking lot, and people were fucking fighting, and people were fucking mad. And, it was incredible. But I'll never forget the intensity. It was the most, and I've been lucky enough to go to AFC Championship games now, the Super Bowl because the Chiefs are so great.
Damn your ass, brother.
Love it, but I mean I've never been to a sporting event that had that type of intensity, that kind of emotion, that kind of anger, that kind of anxiety from both sides. It was incredible, and nothing could ever compare to that in my mind.
Well, I think we were on defense first. I think. And my first year was just fucking garbage. Like it was for whatever reason, anyway, like
because you were nervous? Like a little bitch?
But anyway, like we make him punt, and I was on the punt team. And so it was me, Brinkley was snapping. I was the left guard on the punt team, and Coppin was the right guard.
He wasn't even in college yet, you idiot.
He wasn't?
Bo was the same fucking age as I am. He was a senior in high school that year.
Who knows?
So
Anyway,
Blair
I run
would
down
Stephen
the
Blair
field.
would have been the punt.
I run down the field and tackle Desmond Briscoe for a couple yard loss and I'm up celebrating Stephen. I can't breathe for 30 minutes.
Right.
I'm just cannot breathe.
So what was it like when you guys finally won that game?
It was incredible because the next day I think was our banquet, or the next something like that. And so
no, that is true. The Sunday after the last game of the season was always the banquet at the hotel there on 70.
Yeah, so
the Holiday Inn or whatever.
We were told during our banquet that is when the rankings came out. Like Mizzou's #1, and it went nuts.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's incredible. So before we wrap up this portion of the podcast, and we're gonna rotate in Jarrett Sutton, and we're gonna talk with Jarrett and Andrew first about being roommates on the road when you went to the basketball team, and then we'll come back because I feel like I need to have Jarrett Sutton and Brock Christopher together to hear what you have to say to them because I like it so far. We mentioned the program now and how nice it is to have a basketball team that has high expectations of what the football team is doing right now. They're 7-2. They just went toe-to-toe with Georgia, came up a little short. But they have a huge game against Tennessee in the battle of top 15 teams coming up on Saturday. You guys have watched enough Mizzou football clearly before you played, why you played, and after you played. And I know that we have an interesting text chain between game day and before the game and after the game.
Speaking of that, apparently something you said Monday morning on the radio, I got 3 text messages from buddies. Actually, guys at Station 23 over there on Independence Avenue said, "Did you say this?" Because he just said this on the radio.
What was it? What did I say?
Comment,
something funny.
A comment about maybe the quarterback's a little bit like a poor man's
Alex Smith. No, because it was a good point. Because I agree with it. Because
I said you're stealing my shit, and
I gave you credit.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, because
I'll take that back then.
Because I said Andrew Jones made a good point that Alex Smith was a fine quarterback in the NFL and for the Chiefs, but Andy Reid realized after that loss in the playoffs to the Steelers there was a certain ceiling. Okay, and that's whether he admits it or not, the proof is what they did. They went up and traded up for Patrick Mahomes. And then you saw what happened the next year against the Titans. Patrick Mahomes got them over the hump. Alex Smith was good enough to get you to the playoffs, win 11 games, but there was a ceiling, right? And so you just made the point that Brady Cook's kind of like Mizzou's Alex Smith right now. Clearly he's good enough to win regular season games and get to a point, but now the 2 times against an elite team with the game on the line and the ball in his hands against LSU and against Georgia, we've seen what happened. And it's not – look, but that's better than I thought Brady – I'll be honest, I was wrong about Brady Cook. I wasn't sure that he should be the starter the whole year. And he's proven me wrong. He's had a hell of a year. And if they go out and beat Tennessee, win out and go 10-2, that's a fantastic season.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And you lose to LSU and Georgia, so what? Most of the teams in the nation would lose to LSU and certainly Georgia. But now that you've watched what Drinkwitz has, you see what's coming in, you see what's on the field, are you sold? Well, I want to ask each of you guys, are you sold on Eli Drinkwitz and where Mizzou football's headed right now?
The part that whenever he came in, it seemed like it was going to be, maybe like a Mickey Mouse type offensive scheme and all this other stuff. But
Kirby Moore's been good. I've liked that.
I mean, that's obviously all false. I mean, the thing that you got to look at is look at the front 7 on offense and defense. Mizzou has SEC caliber, dogs playing.
Don't forget about the back end too on defense.
I love it.
Ray Straw and
roster,
Abrams Drainer.
The roster that Drinkwitz has put together, I mean, they'd be undefeated in the Big 12 without a doubt. I mean, they would kick the shit out of Kansas.
Wow.
Maybe
we'll see it in the bowl game.
If they went and played a Pac-12 schedule, they would kick the shit out of those teams because the offensive line, they've got young guys. The defensive coordinator,
Blake Baker's a stud.
We just had Tony Temple show up.
Uh-oh.
But, I mean, just the front 7 and just the physicality. I mean, Missouri has all the pieces. I mean, they're going to finish, number 3 this year probably in the SEC? Because, I mean, I have zero doubts they kick the shit out of Tennessee this weekend.
They're going to beat Tennessee? Tennessee's put up over 60 points back-to-back years.
I guarantee you they beat the shit out of them.
Brock Christopher.
Plus 1.5 money
well,
line.
there you go.
Let's go.
Brock, are you that confident in as Andrew Jones?
Yeah, that game's at home, right?
Yes.
It's
Yeah, so
Saturday.
I think
2:30
I'm aware it's
CBS.
on It's not Saturday. It's like,
You fucking idiot.
no, I've told my family, and my brother played quarterback for Northwest Missouri State and was a stud up there. And I don't know that I've ever seen a player like Brady do what he's done as far as the improvement.
Right.
I mean, it's drastic, right? It's crazy. So, but like Andrew was saying, like our front seven, Tyron Hopper is a Sean Weatherspoon. Like he is I watch him like I zone in on him. I watch him like he's a freak show. But we've got dudes that can rotate in and out on defense, on the defensive line consistently and make plays. And so that loss to Georgia sucked, man. It was, God damn it, we had them. But
1st and 10 at the 50. Schrader just had a 13-yard run, and I just wanted them to keep the ball.
He could have had 200 yards.
Feed Schrader.
Can we
Handing
talk
the ball,
more
he
about
has
Cody
200
Schrader?
yards.
Can we talk more about Cody Schrader? Like, I mean,
Sure.
What an incredible story. Like,
He went from, wow, this is really
Truman
cool
State
that he's going to walk on the team.
Yeah.
Wow, this is cool that he's going to be a scholarship player. Oh, he's going to start. Oh, he got a touchdown. Oh, he's actually pretty good. Now he's fucking leading the SEC in rushing.
yeah, it's incredible. Like
Plus,
I've
he
never
went to
met
Truman
him.
State. I mean, shit, his IQ's higher than all three of ours combined.
That's not a real high bar, by the way.
That's a
I
good
don't
point.
think that's I think a few people fit that bill here.
Yeah.
All right, so now we got Tony Temple here and Jared Sutton. We're going to rotate them in. We, once again, are broadcasting this Hot Mic with SSJ episode at J. Rieger and Company Distillery, where we are here for the release of the 6 Columns Bourbon. Mizzou fans, bourbon fans, liquor fans, football fans, basketball fans, Jared Sutton fans, all of you will love this 6 Columns Bourbon, and we're going to enjoy this and enjoy this as you guys have a drink. Who wants? Let's see. Should we put Tony on? Where did Tony go? Tony's gone. We'll figure it out. We'll see the next lineup coming up right after this on Hot Mic with SSJ. All right, welcome back to another segment of Hot Mic with SSJ. We got to split this up because I have so many good guests here. And again, we're at J. Rieger and Company Distillery, and this is the official release of the 6 Columns straight bourbon whiskey, Mizzou-themed bourbon whiskey, and it's available right now at stores on both sides of the state line. You can, wherever you go and enjoy your delicious spirits, you can get this 6 Columns bourbon. And fellas, you can go ahead and take yours out of the bag. That's for you for coming down here.
This is sweet.
And look at this. How
sweet.
Beautiful is this right here?
With the tiger paw.
Right here in Kansas City, J. Rieger and Company, 6 Columns bourbon with that tiger paw.
Yeah, this is great.
And so go and get this anywhere in Kansas City where you purchase your liquor. And this is a great place to come down here for happy hour or come down for a company event or a holiday party. And so we are down here celebrating this 6 Columns bourbon release and also talking Mizzou because we just kind of wrapped up with this conversation. And I'm not going to take you down the same road as – let me go ahead and tell you.
Please don't.
Brock Christopher and Andrew Jones, that is a very stressful time for me to be a host while they're saying things. Because I wasn't sure what was going to fucking be said.
It's stressful when you're listening to it and you're like, wait, am I going to be brought into this at some point?
But I heard about some of the things he'd like to talk about with you, so I don't know if you want to just –
I'm avoiding him at all costs.
Right.
I'm just avoiding.
So one of them has to do with you getting cut by a hotel room key.
Yeah.
So there we go.
I still have the scar, so it's fine. Everything's fine.
Tony's like, I don't know about that story, but I don't think I want to hear it. So let's just start this with how cool it is right now with what's going on at Mizzou because the football team's in the top 15. They're 7-2. They have a real shot to win 10 games. And the basketball team just wrapped up the number 2 recruiting class in the nation yesterday, coming off an NCAA tournament appearance and win. They're expected to go back to the tournament again. It looks like they have the right football coach and the right basketball coach. There have been some tough times, but right now it feels like things are rolling at Mizzou, right?
Yeah, I mean, just speaking from when we were at Mizzou, when football and basketball was humming, and we're competing for NCAA tournaments, going to the Elite Eight. You guys are, in the Cotton Bowl and just like the excitement around Mizzou during that era, and especially people coming from Kansas City and St. Louis to Columbia. And we always like to feed off the football energy because football always sets the tone in a season, in the academic year, first off. And then, we kind of felt that pressure from the basketball side of like, man, football's rolling, and the fan base is just all about Mizzou football. And it was so fun to get behind these guys because they were great dudes. Like, there's so many good guys that came from the football program. Their success speaks for itself. Coach Pinkel did such an unbelievable job. And then we kind of felt that pressure to kind of have that be what we wanted to be as a basketball program under Mike Anderson. And that's something Coach A, talked a lot about. And I've told the story about when Coach A went to Arkansas, and, we were kind of lost because the whole staff left, and Gary Pinkel, took us under the wing. And we were lifting weights at the football facility just because they didn't want us to feel like we weren't connected to the school, because there was that thought of guys leaving. So just thinking back to that, of what Mizzou meant to just myself and knowing, the basketball guys, that we used to talk about this all the time, of just how special it was to be at Mizzou, especially with football being so good. And we had such great relationships with the football guys, followed their stories and their careers after they were done playing at Mizzou. That made it very special. It feels like we're getting back to that right now is the point. And I think that Desiree Reed-Francois has done such a fantastic job just being at Mizzou Arena, the upgrades to the facilities, went to homecoming, seeing the football stadium packed. Everybody's excited. And that to me is really special where the programs are going.
So 4 straight sellouts for the football team. Like I said, 7-2 with a real chance to beat Tennessee and win out, and they could go to a great bowl game. Tony, you were there when everything was peaking under Gary Pinkel. What do you think right now, what you're seeing from Mizzou football?
I think I echo the same thing Jared said. It starts with the administration. I think they're doing a great job, and I think everyone is comfortable in the positions that what they're doing. And I think they're returning back to some of their original root things, that their core values that they were doing, whether it's recruiting in St. Louis, starting getting more athletes here in Kansas City, and just starting getting the borders again, getting back to some of the root things that we did. And it is exciting. A lot of the returning players have been coming back to just be a part of this excitement.
The Gary Pinkel event I saw you at, that was great to see so many of your teammates all together.
It was, and supporting each other still. And, Jeremy Macklin entered the College Hall of Fame that weekend and entered the ring. And, again, just integrating our families now and just really being a part of it is really cool to see. And you're right, I'm excited about basketball season. There was nothing more exhilarating to have both squads just killing it. It sets the tone for your whole entire college experience. I don't care if you're an athlete or if you're just a student. If both of those major sports are just rocking and going crazy, it's a different time to be at the zoo.
So most of the people haven't had a chance to see it. That you called the game this past Monday, the basketball opener.
Yep.
Black seats instead of gold seats. I keep hearing about the light show and the video board and everything. It's a fucking trip, supposedly. So try to explain, put into words what they've done now with Mizzou Arena for basketball games.
Yeah, so I think this gets back to the vision of Dennis Gates matching with the vision of Desiree Reed-Francois. They knew they had to get the in-game experience better for fans. That was the biggest thing, really making it an atmosphere that was more modern day. I mean, I go across the country, go to different college basketball games, and to see their pregame and to see how their crowd gets into it and how the media department gets the fan base going, we needed that, and they've addressed that. And that was last year, too. I mean,
it looks good.
Everything from the student section being involved and the timeouts, like the events that they're doing, in between timeouts during a basketball game, the fans are totally engaged. Those fans aren't leaving and going up to the Clinton Club. They're staying in their seats, and that's important. That's always been important. Winning cures all, obviously. When you win, they come, and they're in their seats. But the in-game experience, and then now what they've done with the upgrades, like it's an NBA type of situation with the floor and all the light show situation going on. The fans were really into it, and I'll be honest, we didn't go on air for like 30 seconds. They were doing the starting lineup, so I got to look down on the floor, and of course I'm right in front of it, and it just was it was amazing to watch. And then the actual video board is more of an NBA type of style where, for a broadcaster, it's great because they have all the live stats going under the arena, and you can see everything, and they actually have like video boards under there. So it's so high tech. it's like caught up to modern. If you walked into the arena in Sacramento, it's very similar to like how they designed the video board, and then obviously the floor just it like comes out and really grips you. It's a great way to like kick off a basketball game.
Okay, so let's get into some other topics here. So Tony. when you were at Rockhurst, you were one of the top recruits in the nation, right? Do you ever sit and wonder what this fucking NIL would have been like if you'd have been around? Because think about it, man. Because what some of these kids are getting, and then the level of recruit that you were, you know, I mean that's got to blow your mind now to see what recruiting has turned into versus what it was when you went through that cycle, right?
It is, and you know what, I'll say this, you know, Gary Pinkel and the University of Missouri, they really kept a tight grip on it. They weren't playing it, but I can't speak for other organizations, you know, just to think about things were offered back in my playing days.
Hold on now. Wait a minute.
What were offered was amazing, and for so many athletes to turn that down, rightfully to turn that down, is unbelievable. But at the same time, I think a lot of those athletes, as they look back at it to see what the new era is, it's kind of embarrassing to even think back then what was being, you know, offered for athletes, the opportunity they could have based on what these kids are getting now. And I just can't imagine, you know, that's a whole different thought process giving a kid that much money.
I mean, there had to be some wild offers for you.
You know, I just know, all I know, the school that I attended,
right,
had nothing to do with any offers.
I love it.
Okay, and that's fine. So we keep Mizzou in the clear.
That's
here.
right.
Yeah, they're in the clear.
But was there? You don't have to name a school. But was there like a? Was there ever a number thrown at you or something that?
Of course, I think there were schools out there that, whether it was boosters or people that attended that had an invested interest of you going to that school. So. That back in those days, it was tough, as the player, you had to kind of really not pay attention to that because
that's gotta be
so
hard,
much
though.
was going. Yeah, it was hard. And I don't know, maybe there were players out there, that found a way to, to see those opportunities. But
where did you go on official visits?
Let's see. I think it was K-State. And Mizzou, I think that's why I ended up going for my 2 official visits.
So was it because I mean it was a big deal at the time when Mizzou got you because you're a Kansas City kid and everything else. But was it a hard decision? Was it a hard process for you to decide on Mizzou, or is that something like you knew the whole time?
I would think looking back on it, I never took the recruiting process serious. And
why not?
Well, I just don't think it was. I think the athlete that I was, or even just in the position that I was, I was focusing on 1 year at a time.
But you dealt with that pressure, not just as upperclassmen, from the time you started playing high school football.
Yeah.
I mean, you were dealing with that for a long time.
And so I think that thought process for me, I'm even coming to a realization that, when I was a freshman playing with the seniors, that was my age group that I played with. My development of even my thought process, whether it was in my playing days or off the field, was with 18, 19-year-olds at a 14-year-old base.
That's just wild, though, man.
And then if you think about that, once those relationships graduated and they were done, those were my core relationships, and then I restart. So by the time my freshman class came, there was no connectivity to that class, and my mental capacity was with grown men and grown women and experiences and things that no way that my level of who I was with in my class could deal with. So just always having that type of attention and just having that, experience was crazy. And then, I was getting invited to Christmas parties from people that were in your entertainment. So I didn't have the experiences that the normal high school or even college athlete would have off the field, on the field at all. So you're right to think about the entertainment value of the NIL deals now.
Oh, my God.
And to know that I was already placed in that, whether it was exploitation or whether I put myself into it, it's pretty interesting to know that, wow, yikes.
Was it hard to deal with all that pressure? Like you said, you throw out that 14 years old. Like my daughters are 14 years old,
yeah,
and I can't get them to clean their fucking room. And then you're out there with Rockhurst was the program, and all eyes are on you from the time you were 14 and everything else. When you look back at that, it's one thing to deal with that physically, like you said, you're playing 17, 18, 19-year-old guys, right? But what was more difficult, mentally handling that or physically?
Well, yeah, looking back at it mentally was handled because who can deal with that? I come from a single mother, and her raising a son that she just essentially wants to stay, healthy and stay safe and make good grades so I can have a good life, whether the sports take me anywhere. There's now no leadership of me having any understanding how to deal with this. So my Rockhurst experience is now separated being an athlete and then being a person that has to make good grades. And now you're just, you're subject to just the people that are in there, in that environment. That's why you got to lean on people like Coach Severino.
What was he like to play for? Because he's one of the most legendary coaches in Kansas City history.
Coach Severino takes chances on players that he believes in and that believes in themselves. And I think, that's one thing that he has to, be recognized as, because there's so many great players that he's inspired and there's so many great players he's really discovered. And that recruiting thing, I think that stuff has just picked up more in the last year or two, and that's like from other schools right now. I don't think that was our background of what we do. I mean, our reputation carried itself. Like you said, Rockhurst used to be the school to go to. And so playing for him, it was legendary. He was a good person. He understood things that I couldn't even comprehend. So going back to just what recruiting process was, he kept me as a kid, a 14-year-old kid, a 15-year-old boy, a 16-year-old. He tried to really humble me and not let me get exposed to all the things that could potentially damage me forever. So I look up. I can't. It's amazing just thinking about what type of character and man he was as a coach, and not to mention of the things that he gave me the opportunity to do.
So you get to Missouri, you're playing for Gary Pinkel. We had Brock Christopher and Andrew Jones talking about the experience of playing for Coach Pinkel. How was it for you? You're the guy at Rockhurst for 4 years. Then you get to Mizzou. What was that transition like for you?
It was tough, honestly. Coming into Mizzou, knowing that I came with the quarterback with Brad Smith. He's a running quarterback. Knowing that there were some great running backs with Damian Nash, Zach Abron, and seeing that
those are some names.
Good backs.
And seeing that I'm a guy that touches the ball 20, 25 times at least a game, and so to know that, to truly want to not only be a team player, but to put on from my city in Kansas City, like having my name on that board, that big board come on, and saying it's from Kansas City, that means something from somebody that's from here. And so, to have a transition going into all offense, amazing offense of just passing and just having to change the whole thought process of what I was going to be as a player, as an athlete, as a teammate, that was tough. It was a distrust for a while, I would say, with the University of Missouri and my relationship with them, because you're right. I wanted to touch that ball 25, 30 times. As a matter of fact, I was number 2 behind Adrian Peterson. So to watch what he was doing his freshman year and me not have the opportunity to go touch the ball and do that, that was tough. So, I love how everything turned out, because of the biggest experience, I learned how to be a team player,
So all the years I've known you, we've talked. I've never asked you this question, so I'm curious. Here we go. He wants to take the microphone off.
It's hot again.
One of the most controversial moments of your career was when your red shirt got yanked as a true freshman, right? And so then in the business that I'm in, people debated that. Well, why did they do this? Should they have done that? And everything else. And that was, and you're talking about 2004. That was still the time when Coach Pinkel, kind of on the hot seat, still hadn't won everyone over yet, right?
Yeah.
Because in 05 is when you guys won the Independence Bowl, and then 06, Chase takes over, and then it's on. What was that? What was your recollection of that and how you were involved?
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate, I don't know why you guys think these players can remember all these damn stories back in the day. So I'm gonna say, especially these football players. So straight up, I'm gonna try to put it together. But what I do remember, I did not want my red shirt to get pulled because we were too far in the season. And again, I was emotionally invested of wanting to play from the beginning of the year. I wanted to play the first game, second game, third game,
right,
fourth game. Why am I not playing? I was inviting my whole entire family every single week to
shit.
come out, and then they would not play me. So the disappointment each and every week of them promising me that I was going to play, and then I did not play for whatever reason. And then for my red shirt to be pulled in the way that it was, and then me not emotionally not, wasn't ready to play, that was tough, But at the same time, it brings to the reality of what I'm trying to say. I had the ability to play as a true freshman in the very first game. They felt confident playing me for whatever reason. It just didn't work out. We had Damian Nash there. We had a great running back right in front of me, and we had a great squad. And it just worked out that way. But needless to say, that's something I did not want to happen. I'm glad it happened, because it gave me my first experience and woke me up to say, hey, I better wake up, because these Nebraska, I think what they call them, the black shirts back in the day. I said, this is dangerous. I said, it's a little bit quicker than Blue Springs.
And so that was your first game, but then your last game, 281 yards and 4 touchdowns in the Cotton Bowl against Arkansas, and you were inducted into the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame?
That's crazy.
Big time.
I mean, this is still somewhat new, so I don't know how many times you've been interviewed about it. You were inducted into the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame. Tell me what that meant to you, what when you found out, and what that was like to go down there back to the scene of your greatest collegiate game and have that kind of honor bestowed upon you.
Well, I'll say the coolest thing is Coach Gary Pinkel giving me that call and wanting to be the one that tells me that this is going to be something that happens and I'm going to be entering it with him. And so I thought that was just really stand up for him, just to be the person that wanted to call me and give me that news straight up. And, when you get to this age or, time pass like this and you have your kids and children, to have something recognized like this is more for them, My son is 5 years old, and that was the first time he saw me run the ball is when he came to Dallas and watched it on the screen. So, having those experiences for my kids and my daughters and then being able to crystallize a speech to thank them and my tribe, those are the moments that I'm personally just honor and just can't believe that it's a thing. And, of course, having, the career that I had, and, I had higher expectations for my own self with my career, and I'm sure other people and my own fans felt the same way. It was awesome to end that way and to end my career exiting with 24 carries and however else the yards ended up. So, that was a great team win, and, it's a cool experience.
And so now you're still here in Kansas City, obviously. Both of you guys have gone on to do great things. And so for Mizzou fans that don't know, that are listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube, first, Tony, tell people what you're doing now and how you're giving back to the community that you grew up in.
Well, I stayed in the wellness community, and I just really believe that it's just so important to just take all the lessons and everything that you go through in life and find a way to try to give that back by just serving your youth. But in short, I create youth programming for kids, working on their social and emotional learning. We do this through a wellness workbook, and I've had the honor to do that wellness workbook with my daughter's story. She's 11 years old. She's in middle school, and she's wearing me out. And it's just been really cool to kind of just show her that how important it is just to get back to your community. So, that's in short what that we do. But it's just all about just kind of giving back to the people that just need that equitable help.
And Jared Sutton, there are a few people in the world that I know that love basketball more than you do, every aspect of basketball. You come to my son's and my daughter's basketball practice in grade school and giving clinics and giving speeches. And almost the polar opposite of how Tony went into Mizzou as a highly touted recruit that could have gone anywhere in the nation. You had to work your ass off to go to Mizzou as a walk-on.
Yep.
When a lot of people, if you were to listen to a lot of people, you wouldn't have gone, but you went there. And because you took it to Mike Anderson at the rec center and took his ass to the hoop, you got a spot on the team.
Yep.
But now you've parlayed that into becoming an NBA scout and working for the New Orleans Pelicans and following your dream of basketball. So tell people what that's been like and what you do and and how you've stayed in the sport that you love so much.
Yeah. Well, first off, I just got to say, when I was in high school, Tony's a little bit older than me, but there was a Friday.
Why do you got to say that now? Come on.
Just not by much. Not by much. Because I think I was a freshman in high school, and Tony Temple was the talk of Kansas City, and me and some buddies were like, we got to go see Tony play. Like, we need to go see him play.
Everyone had to go see him play in high school.
And I remember like sitting at Rockhurst, and I went to Oak Park, and man, I like those memories like are coming back. And just to share this moment with you, man, you did such great things at Rockhurst and the legend here, and then went on to Mizzou, and just hearing your story is great. So that I have to say that while we're sitting here. But I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity, though. Like, yeah, with my time at Mizzou and how I got on the basketball team, it's definitely a wild ride. I got done playing at Oak Park. Solid high school player. I was probably going to go Division II, and both my brothers had gone to Mizzou, and I knew Columbia really well, and I really wanted to be a Tiger. And I probably, at 17, 18 years old, was a little bit naive and thought, like, well, I'll just walk on. Like, there's got to be a chance I can walk on and go through the walk-on tryout, not realizing, how difficult it is just to go through a walk-on tryout and make it. And so I go to Mizzou freshman year, tryout. They didn't keep anybody, and they weren't keeping anybody. They didn't have any roster spots. So there you go with my just being naive and not understanding, like, there's no way I was going to make it. And so I thought, well, I'm going to come home, and I'm going to go back and play Division II basketball. I had Northwest Missouri State, Washburn, Central Missouri, and then Central Arkansas was that's the biggest school that really was interested in me. And I was just a shooter. That was my role, and at that time, like, it was this evolution to really trying to identify shooters and guys that could come in and shoot the ball. So I went to Northwest Missouri State, and it was probably like February of 2008. And I moved home. I was working out every single day with my AAU coach twice a day. And I was looking for an opportunity, and I go to Northwest Missouri State and played probably the best I've probably ever played, I would say. Like, I was playing in a pickup game with their team, and afterward their coach was like, we have a spot for you. So I get in the car with my parents, and I could tell, like, my mom was like, my mom went to Northwest Missouri State, for the record, and she's like, so what are you thinking? Like, how's this going to go? And I said, I think if I did this, I want to try it again and see if I can go to Mizzou. And as a parent, I'm assuming she's thinking, you just left Mizzou. Like, what are we doing here? We need you to get your academics, and, we need you to find, like, your, what you want to do. And it was a very, very stressful, tough time. And I ended up going back to Mizzou. And the first week of school, I was in the rec center, and I was the only student in there, and I saw a group of professors playing pickup, and then I noticed Mike Anderson was playing, didn't think anything of it, and they had a guy get hurt. They had a professor get hurt, so they only had 9. And I'm running wind sprints on the side, and, like, I had class in like an hour. I was just killing time. And they're like, you gotta jump in. Like, we need a 10th. And so I jump in, and Coach Anderson guards me, and I guard Coach Anderson. We played for 2 hours.
What happened?
And just went at each other.
Any
like,
elbows?
he's good, right? He played in college.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point he was in his mid-40s. He could still play.
Right.
I mean, it was crazy. I'm like, dang, Coach A's
any
got
incidents
serious game.
Come on.
I mean, he didn't know me. I mean, it was like the first time, and I shot the ball really well. And at the end of that first time, they're like, hey, you should come back and play again. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to do this, obviously. If Coach A is going to play, this is my best chance to kind of get looked at. So I come back the next, I think it was the next, we played twice a week, so it was Thursday. And there was this play where I deflected the ball away from Coach A, got a steal, and he didn't like that. So I go down, and I go to shoot a layup, and he absolutely, like, he put his elbow right in my side and threw me. He's so strong, like, deceptively strong. We talk about this story all the time.
Mike Anderson knocked the shit
Mike
out of you.
Anderson threw me. And so much that it was so bad that I flew, and I, like, landed on my head on the other side of the court. And these professors were like, what are you doing? Like, they were, like, looking at Coach Anderson.
Don't steal the ball
and
from
I
Coach.
knew in my mind, I'm like, he's totally testing me right now. There's 100% he's testing me to see how I'm going to react to this. So I stood up, I walked right to the block, and then we were checking up, and he leaned over to me and just slapped me on the side of my hip. And I knew, like, I knew he was just trying to test me. And we went back and forth, and I went right at him the rest of the day. And then we played for 2 more weeks, and I still was nervous, though. I'm like, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. They do have a walk-on tryout. I don't know if they have any roster spots. And then Jeff Daniels, who was their basketball at the time, our basketball operations coordinator, was like, "We think you should come out. We think you should try out for the team."
Tony,
that was kind of the story. It's crazy.
Can you fucking imagine if you, like, to earn a spot on the football team, you had to play some pickup flag football against Coach Pinkel and guard
Just
him
taking
and have
shots
him
from
knock the
Coach
shit out of you?
Oklahoma drill with Coach Pinkel. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So then you make it, right?
Yeah.
But something happened early on with now who's a dear friend of yours.
Kim English,
No,
Lawrence Bowers.
Lawrence Bowers. You want to
Yeah.
tell that story?
Is this the shoe? Is this the shoe story, or is it which story?
What happened in practice? The bad one.
The bad practice.
Him getting hurt.
Oh, that was my senior year. Yeah, that's a
Oh, yeah.
terrible. That's a terrible.
Have
day.
you ever heard this story?
No.
I never see until you told me. I never heard. I'm just trying to find different stories that
Yeah.
other people haven't heard.
Yeah.
Tell the story about Lawrence Bowers.
So, senior year, Frank Hayes' first year. There was a lot of unknown going into that year because Coach A had left. I think the fan base was kind of like, well, we'll see what they do this year. It's a new head coach. Nobody knew
who the fuck Frank Haith was.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody knew who Frank Haith was.
Like,
that was a big, big part of it.
answer. Mizzou's hired Frank Haith, and it was like, what? Who the fuck is that?
But the excitement of going to the Elite Eight our freshman year, and then we had a disappointing end to my junior year when we got knocked out by Cincinnati in the opening round, and we lost I think it was 4 of our last 5. And we had a lot of issues going on. That was probably the toughest time in my 4 years that we had, where we were sideways. There was things going on with Coach A, and you could feel it. It was just, it's hard to describe. There was a lot of tension. Everybody knew it, and we knew there was going to be some serious changes. And I didn't think at the time, though, in the season that Coach A was leaving. I did not think that at all. I started to think that once we made the NCAA tournament, and then there were some things taking place when we were in D.C. getting ready for the NCAA tournament. But fast forward to we hire Coach Aith, really like grueling kind of off season going into the summer and going into the fall. But we get ready to practice. It's like maybe 2 weeks before the season starts. And Lawrence Bowers had like a wingspan. You could throw the ball anywhere and Lawrence could go get it. You know, like he dunk balls, lob threat, all that stuff. And we were playing in a pickup run. I caught the ball on the short corner baseline, and he's rim running right down the lane, and he's got a step on Ricardo. And so I try to lob it to him to go get it, and he like came up like a little. He was kind of hobbling down. He went to go grab this ball. It was very awkward, lands, and that's how he tears his ACL.
Fuck.
And I at the time I thought, and Lawrence was tough as nails. Like he played through injuries. I'm like, oh, I think he'll be fine. And then I realized like he's not fine. And it was awful. We were roommates. Like he's one of my best friends. He was groomsman at my wedding, and like he jokes with me now.
Your
but at
godfather
the time,
to his child.
But at the time, that was one of the worst feelings ever leaving the facility because I thought like, not only was he such a huge part of our teams, but he's a senior with us, and like we're gonna graduate together. It was the whole thing, like our class staying together, and that was kind of a big deal with Marcus and Kim and Lawrence, and like nobody was leaving. Now everybody leaves, but we wanted to keep our class together, and so it was just a real like. I've had so much guilt for the longest time, and we met and that night he told me that he tore his ACL, and we met as a team the next day, and it felt like I don't want to say a death because I think that's a little bit aggressive, but it was a horrible feeling. Like it was terrible.
Sure.
It was like your best friend, your brother is done for the year, and we were getting ready for this. Like, we were ready to play. Like we were getting ready to start the season. And it was a freak thing. I mean, it's something he does all the time too, where it's a bad pass, and Lawrence just goes and gets it. That's what he did. And he gives me a hard time now. He's like, yeah, you tore my ACL. Thanks, man. And I'm like, I always still feel kind of guilty about it, but it was a freak thing. But it ended up like Kim played the 4 that year, and it changed everything of how we played. And I think it's why, Lawrence would have definitely helped us. We needed depth. We were so thin. So to say like, oh, would you have been really good if Lawrence was playing at the 4 and then Kim was back to the 3? I still think we would have been a really good team for Coach Haith because we needed the depth, but Kim at the 4 was a problem for everybody, and I think it's a big reason why we won 30 games that year.
And for depth, they had to go get the fucking guy like Andrew Jones. We'll talk him in a little bit.
That's a whole nother bag.
We'll
it's
find
a whole
out.
nother bunch of worms there.
And so then fast forward now, working for the New Orleans Pelicans, you're doing what you want to do.
Yeah, it's my dream job. Kind of similar to how I made the team at Mizzou. Like, I had to go the unconventional way. I worked in the D League right out of school, lived in Santa Cruz.
You stalk people in hotel lobbies?
I lived in a hotel
Right.
for about 6 months. It was rough, but it was part of the internship. So they put me up with the team. It was great. We had Seth Curry, Steph Curry's brother, Michael Thompson, Klay Thompson's brother. We were a really good team, actually, that year. Learned a ton. Got into player personnel and loved it, and I knew that's what I wanted to do.
By the way, look how menacing Andrew Jones
I know.
is.
I'm just waiting for him to say. I know.
He wants to say something.
I always try to like
you won't even make eye contact with him.
It looks like
and
he's
that was your
gonna
roommate on the
tackle me.
road, right? There's like some animosity here that I don't know what's going
like,
on.
oh God, what
we'll
did I
find
do?
out, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
So there was a guy, Brian Scalabrine. I don't know if anybody knows, but Brian was the Red Mamba, if you will. Andrew knows.
Right.
But anyway, he was on our staff. He's the only assistant coach in NBA history to get demoted by Mark Jackson to Santa Cruz, and it ended up being a blessing in disguise for me because I got to know him really well, and he's like, look, if you want to go do this, do not come back to the G League. You're going to get pulled in here, and if you stay here, you're going to get stuck here. And he was right. And at the time, the SEC Network was launching, and they needed a color commentator for Mizzou basketball, and they couldn't find anybody. And Ben Arnett was like, you have to do this. Like, we need somebody. And I had no broadcast experience at all.
But you had the hair.
but I had the hair. And so Ben was like, yeah, you should do this. And so I got into that. I started meeting a lot of coaches. And
you're great at it, by the way.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
I agree.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. I love it. It's my way to give back to the program. But long story short, Scalabrine was like, if you want to get into player personnel, get out, start meeting people. I met a bunch of different coaches. Coach Anderson was a huge help. Coach Haith was a huge help. But got to meet Trajan Langdon, former Duke Blue Devil, and I've worked for him ever since. And he's our general manager in New Orleans. So it's kind of all come full circle.
And if you're a basketball nerd, Jarrett and I do a podcast all about basketball, high school, college, NBA, House of Hustle. That's brought to you by Charlie Hustle twice a month. You can watch it on YouTube, Spotify, whatever. We had our first episode drop yesterday previewing Mizzou, K-State, and KU. And so we'll do that twice. We're going to have Sophie Cunningham on there.
Yep.
We're going to have
Phil
Pressey, who's on the Celtics staff. And so you can watch that or listen to that twice a month.
Yep.
Jared Sutton. We're gonna now back like in your basketball days. We're gonna rotate someone in here now because there's different people that want to be on with Tony Temple.
That's right.
All right.
I'm honored that I get to be on with Tony Temple first.
And it seems like Andrew Jones is beckoning you.
I think he's mad at me because of that. I think he's like, wait, how does Jared get this?
Go settle something right now. Somebody bring my dad over here. Steve St. John Sr. He's gonna act like he doesn't hear me. Get over here. Come on. Okay, now you hand your microphone off to Steve St. John Sr. We'll figure this out. This is going to be a little bit of a reunion, Tony. And I know you probably got to run, so we'll let you go. But this is a special on-camera reunion as Tony Temple says goodbye to Jared Sutton. Don't look at me like that. Come on.
Oh, man.
Well, yeah, right. Oh, man's right. And Tony doesn't know if he wants to stay on this podcast right now. Come on in here. This is my dad, Steve St. John Sr. He's a regular guest on Hot Mic with SSJ. Now get this on here. Get the headset on. Okay, now we have a mini reunion here on the air with Tony Temple and my dad, Steve. My dad's already pissed off. Steve St. John Sr. And the way I say this is a reunion, back in 2013, we can't even talk about it without laughing. Back in 2013, we come up with the idea that we're going to drive to Atlanta because Mizzou made the SEC championship game. And in theory, it was a great idea. It really was. I had access to the tickets. I'm all fired up. And so it's going to be me and my two sons and my buddy Sam, who's here. So this is a reunion. And then, but I don't like to drive, right? It's a long trip. And so I'm talking to my dad on the phone, and my dad said, well, I'll drive you guys. I'll go down there. I said, okay, I'll get you a ticket to the game and everything else. So, and you're not the biggest sports fan, but you wanted to go because you're a great wheelman. You like to hit the road. You like to be out there.
Right.
And so he agrees. And then a couple of days before, so this is already going to be a disaster, the group that we have right now, between my two sons, me, my dad, and Sam. And so then you call me and you say, hey, are you going to Atlanta? Going to Atlanta? I said, yeah, we're going. He goes, can I get with you? I said, yeah, ride down with us. I said, I'm just going to tell you right now, my dad's going to be with us, so this will be somewhat of a different kind of trip, so just be prepared. And I remember you was like, what do you mean? I go, there's nothing I can say to explain what I mean, but just be ready. And so we all pile in. We take my wife's car, which is like a Taurus X kind of SUV, whatever, and So, luck would have it, it's one of the worst fucking ice storms that in the history of anything, right? We drive through, we get to Cape Girardeau, and the entire town is fucking shut down. It like 7 o'clock, or like a Friday night at 7. There's nothing open. One thing that's open, Steak and Shake. So we get the Steak and Shake. We go in there, and we're just happy we found something Steak and Shake, right? And we were just starting to get into the bad weather. And we're thinking, you know what, it'll blow over. We'll drive out of this thing, and it's not going to be fucking bad. So we get in there, and I'm having my dad drive. And we get a little bit outside of Cape Girardeau. And my dad, you have to understand something. My dad can't function without coffee at all times. He needs coffee every fucking hour, right? You got to have the coffee. So we go into this shitty little gas station, and there's no coffee, and he's fucking hot. He goes, I got to have coffee. And so I think my buddy said, maybe it might have been you. You said, well, what about an energy drink? And so my dad had never had an energy drink before. He never had one, right? And so he just doesn't get a fucking like a normal Red Bull. Yeah. He goes and gets this double giant like high octane, fucking gas fuel or whatever, something that no one should fucking drink.
I could have drove to California.
He gets it, right? And so we get it. We walk out there, and I look around, and I go, "Where's the energy drink at?" And he goes, "I fucking drank it."
I said, you can't do that.
Before we got in the car, he just fucking downed it because he thought, I don't know, that he'd be awake. And he gets on, we get in the car, and he's fucking holding that fucking steering wheel like this. His eyes are wide open. And I know one thing, he ain't falling asleep. I can tell you that. Everyone else is going 20 miles an hour because that's the most you can go in this fucking storm. He's driving so fucking aggressive and everything's God damn it, get the fuck out of the way. And I'm looking around, I'm thinking, you know what, if this is it, if this is the way we go, this is a hell of a storm. Whatever. I mean, do you remember that? Do you remember and he even said, he goes, I can drive to California and I'm fine. We don't have to stop and go nowhere because we're going to stop and get a hotel. He didn't want to.
No,
he was
no.
No, it's fine. You're okay. It's hot, Mike. And so what is your recollection of that? Because it was a very
I was a safe driver.
Well, I don't know if there was a lot of curse words. There was a lot of accusations of threats. What do you remember about that part of the trip, Tony?
That part of the trip was insane, and like you said, he was in overdrive.
Right.
And,
he was in overdrive. The car and him.
He was in overdrive, and I remember it was the first energy drink ever, and I said, you can't do it. I remember grabbing it. I says, your heart okay?
Yeah.
And
I feel great.
And I remember just sliding through traffic. We're gliding through traffic and holding on, and that was insane.
So we almost so then in Atlanta, he almost got into a fight with a guy on the train or the trip, whatever the fucking deal is there.
We did, didn't we? I forgot about that.
Right.
Yeah, you said he was disrespectful.
Then we almost got into a fight with some Auburn fans after the game, getting off the elevator, and we went in front of them because we were all in the elevator with a couple of Auburn fans, and they were being cool, a couple of guys, right? And we had just lost the SEC championship game. I was upset, but my two boys, so this is in fucking 2013, so Phil was 10, and Richie would have been 15. And so I remember we're all, and it was a good game, and they weren't saying nothing. And then they get out of the elevator, and they're walking away. What they don't realize is they think we're staying on the elevator. We are also getting out of the elevator because it's our floor as well. And they shout out, Missouri fucking sucks, fuck you, thinking that as the door's closing, thinking we're still in the elevator. They turn around, we're fucking standing right there. And they're in front of the hotel. And we went over there and I looked at Phil, and Phil had these kind of tears in his eyes. He was so upset about the game, and it was almost like, what are you going to do, Dad? And I got fucking all dad mad, and I walked over, you motherfuckers. And I think we threatened them, told them they got to stay in their hotel room the rest of the night, and if they come out of their fucking hotel room, we're going to beat the shit out of them. I think that's how it went. And there was me, Sam, you,
Sam, don't shake your head. Sam shaking his head.
So that was in, and then
they stayed in
you leaving? You're out of here? Brock Christopher's gone. Okay, Brock Christopher's out.
Stay here.
Brock Christopher, who we're going to have you on again on Hot Mic with SSJ. Brock Christopher is out. Great linebacker at Mizzou. And so do you remember the meal that we had at the Atlanta Seafood Company? Do you remember that? We had a great we had a great fucking meal, one of the best meals I've had ever. But then driving home, we're saying, man, okay, so driving home Sunday morning, we decide to stop at Varsity Hot Dog. Okay, and here's let me tell you something. There's places you should stop and eat before you have a fucking 13-hour road trip, and places you shouldn't stop and eat. And one of them that you shouldn't is Varsity Hot Dog, because we're eating chili dogs, we're eating hot dogs, we're eating everything else. And I remember we were in line. You told the story earlier, and I guess they had their famous peach pies they're known for.
Yeah.
And so what do you remember about that? What happened? What happened there when we got up there to order? And Tony was interested in getting
we was in good shape. We
right.
had no problem. If you wanted chili, you said chili. You wanted relish, you said relish. But Tony said, are those real peaches? And the gal said, what did you say? He said, are those real peaches? She said, I'll tell you goddamn what. She went around there and grabbed him by the arm and said, you bring your ass back here in the kitchen and you can see if they're real peaches or not. The hell do you think you're at? This is Atlanta. And he was looking at her kind of
I didn't know what was going on. I thought she was kidding, but she was legitimately mad.
You must have goosed her or something, you know.
I don't think I think that's a no-no in Atlanta. You don't ask about the peach pie. I don't know what happened.
And she said, what do you think? You taste them? Are they real peaches? He said, yes, ma'am, they are.
Right.
Yeah.
She got aggressive.
Get out of there.
She did, and I told her, I'm from Missouri. I'm from the Show Me State. And
that's
right.
Said, and that's how it all,
She showed you.
And she showed me.
So you got to. So here we go. So then we eat a lot. At Varsity, we're hot dogs, fries.
They're looking like Sonic Coney dogs.
Right.
Like they're
we just ate everything.
We shouldn't be eating them.
So then we're on the road for about 45 minutes. And he starts to fidget a little bit in the seat. And I know what's going to happen. It's hitting him. He's going to have to shit quick. Right? He's got to find somewhere. And we're not in a very populated area at that point. He's going, I got to find somewhere. I got to find somewhere fast. And it went from 0 to 100 quick, and we're all looking around like we want you to find somewhere. and so I remember there's this little gas station, and he's so relieved. And you know how sometimes you have to go to the bathroom really bad,
you don't care.
And then you see the bathroom, but then you're like, oh, okay, I don't have to hold him. I'm gonna make it in there. He fucking gets out, and he moves faster than I've ever seen him move in his life. He hops out of there like this fucking NASCAR. He gets out of there, runs in there, and he goes and he lunges for the door, and we can see from out in the car, and he goes to reach for the bathroom. Someone's in there, it's locked. And you see my dad, he goes, he's holding.
And that's the worst.
And he's holding, and he goes and leans up like against a display of oil or something. He's hurting himself. Go shit. He's gonna shoot. And and you could.
And he was ready.
And he was ready.
He was so ready to go.
That's right.
That's the worst.
And then finally, someone comes out of there and he goes in there. I would not want to follow him in the bathroom. And so we made that. So then we go. Sam, what do we get to put? What do we put under a seat? What was it? So we go to some store. We got a bunch of snacks, right? And was it some beef jerky or some kind of snacks or whatever? And we opened it up, and it smelled like shit. It was terrible. And he got real mad. He goes, who's eating that shit back there? Throw it out of there. And so we pull over, right? He was not happy at this point. And so he goes in to use the bathroom again at the thing, and Sam goes, give me that bag of stuff. And he takes it, and he opens a real bag and shoves it under the seat when my dad's driving. And we told him to do it away, and we're all real quiet. And he started driving. And my dad, as he starts driving, my dad,
we terrorized.
I still smell that. We threw it away. And this went on for about an hour. He was pissed off. And then Do you remember what happened when? So then he started to kind of wind down a little bit, and you said you would you would drive, and you got behind the wheel for about 15 or 20 minutes, and it didn't go well. And then what happened? You
said no one's driving.
Yeah, you took the steering wheel over.
Yeah, that's right.
No one drive again.
Do you remember any of these stories, or do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Right. But it was a great trip, even though they lost. That was one of the greatest
greatest
road trip I've ever had.
So we had one pending. We were this close to having a pending return.
Yeah.
Chapter 2. With this last, Georgia game.
Oh, we talked about it down.
Didn't
down
somebody almost fall out of the rail, fall out of the balcony?
Oh shit, that's right. We were up in the upper level in the. You said you gotta leave at 7. Okay. Okay, 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes. Okay, so yeah, we were sitting on the set of the Georgia Dome, the second row of the upper level, and it was me and my dad and the boys, and we're just fucking standing there, fucking pregame. I'm like, oh, yeah, everything's look at DGB out there catching fucking pen, whatever, and all of a sudden, like he fucking dropped from the sky. Some guy falls on me. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so apparently some guy that was right behind us had gotten up and he had been drinking and he got dizzy and passed out and fell on me. And if I wasn't standing up looking at the players, he would have fallen off that fucking thing and they would have had a death at the SEC championship game. But he just fell on me. And I collapsed under his weight. And so that was so that's what happened.
You saved his life.
I saved his fucking life, and he thanked me. I did inadvertently, and he
should have let him go.
Broke my fucking arm or whatever. Steve St. John Sr., thank you for stopping by. Do you have anything to say to Tony Temple on this podcast? Because we're rotating guests in and out. You want to go on a road trip with him?
I'm ready.
Will you?
Man, you got to drive though.
I'll drive. It don't make any difference. Give me an energy drink.
I got you one.
We'll get him an energy drink. All right. That's my dad, Steve St. John Sr. Tony, thank you so much for coming down here and being part of this. I hope it was fun for you, and I hope that didn't bring back too any bad memories about that fucking card trip and my dad almost shitting his pants on the way back home from Atlanta.
Round 2.
That's right, round 2. All right, we'll be back with another segment of Hot Mic with SSJ. All right, we continue with Hot Mic with SSJ down here live at J. Rieger Distillery. As my dad just attempted to walk right in front of the fucking camera while we're recording, but that's fine. We get it.
He's enjoying himself.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So Jared Sutton, I'm just going to call you out. You tried to leave.
I did.
And I know you've got
I do have
a
to
busy
leave,
life.
but yes.
But you I feel like you were trying to avoid what's coming next.
Andrew was going to try to fight me if I didn't
Andrew
leave.
Jones, again, we told the story. Andrew Jones was a tight end on the football team. And then the basketball team needed some help, needed some depth.
Yep.
So Andrew, what happens? What do you remember? How did Andrew Jones end up on the fucking basketball team?
You can tell better. I just remember Andrew just walking into practice one day, and I'm like, I know that guy. Oh, cool. He's
Invited or uninvited?
He's got a practice jersey on. That's cool.
Who reached out and told you that they needed you, or how did that happen?
Well, so one night we're at tutoring over at the Massey, and Marcus Dimmon's like, he always called me Drew. He's like, yo, Drew, you going to join the basketball team or not? I'm like, well, this is the first I heard of it. What's going on? He's well, Chu's the new assistant coach from Pump and Run. I'm like, okay. What the fuck's going on? I have no idea what you're even talking about. He's
what does that mean?
He's like, well, Elbow blew his knee out. I'm like, no, I had no idea. And I'm like, yeah, have him call me. Sure. He's like, shit, you're not going to do it. Whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. So the next day, some guy named Toby Lane, who I'd never heard of, calls me. He's the basketball operations where he's like,
he was our ops guy. Yep.
He's like, hey, what size shoe do you wear? I'm like, who is this? He's like, it's Coach Lane, from the basketball. Marcus told me you want to join the team. Oh yeah, I'm a double X. I wear size 15. Okay, well, we'll see you at practice tomorrow. We already talked to Coach Pinkel. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
But you were all in. You wanted to do it.
Yeah, I was like, I thought it was kind of a fucking joke or something.
So you walk in. He walks into basketball practice. So what do you think when you see this guy walk into basketball practice?
I think we're going to do some sort of like the Oklahoma drill or something like, all physical tackle football on the court or something like that. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. But I did actually think at the time, like, we kind of need a guy that's like a muscle physical guy for practice to like Ricardo was huge. And we needed that.
Ricardo shot like, what, 75% from the field?
And you were a big part of that.
And Coach Haith was like, yeah, just when you guard Ricardo, just stick your forearm in his back and just push him as hard as you can. If you can move him, you move him. If you don't, you don't. Or, all right, that doesn't sound too bad. Plus, now everyone knows what my face actually looks like. I don't have a football helmet on. Unlimited bar taps.
There we go.
Unlimited chicks.
It's going to make things happen in Columbia. Okay, so in the effort of time constraints here, because Jared Sutton said he will only be on the air with Andrew Jones for
Andrew was a good
moments.
high school basketball player. For
right.
the record, he was a very good high school
we
basketball
found out he had the game when he shot against Brock Christopher.
Might have
Brock
changed
Christopher
his body for football a little bit.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, full transparency. Out of high school, Creighton offered me a scholarship. Missouri State, you know, some like.
He was a baller.
Yeah, he's a hooper.
Some Missouri Valley schools. I mean, if you're familiar with MoCan today, I was on the first ever MoCan basketball team. So, I mean, I was back then, AAU basketball, everyone wants to shoot the ball. You kind of always need a 6'5" white guy that wants to set picks and rebound.
And you fit the bill.
That was kind of my job, and I was like, you know what, this is pretty fun because I don't want to shoot because they're going to block it and it's going to hit me back in the nose.
So then you guys end up as roommates on the road.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
How did that happen?
That's a great question. I mean,
who put you guys together?
I lived with Steve Moore, I roomed with Steve Moore on the road the first 3 years, and you came after the football season, right?
I think because you and I were the only two on the team that had already graduated because you're a year older than I am, but Coach Pinkel made us all go to summer school, so I graduated in December after 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. And so then they're like, okay, the rest of the team on road trip has to do study hall and all this shit. We'll let Jarrett and AJ go fuck around. Yep. However, Jarrett was too big of a square to want to do anything fun, so I went and had fun while he was sitting back there, you know, reading or something stupid like that.
Sitting back reading. Okay, so
sitting
now
back reading. Interesting.
He says that he still has a scar from an incident. What happened that led to you leaving him with a scar?
College Station, right?
Well, this is after this rat fuck told on me for going to buy a 6-pack of beer.
What are you talking about?
On Super Bowl Sunday in Stillwater, Oklahoma, when the Patriots lost to the Giants. I said, hey, let's walk down to the bar and go.
Who did this?
You did. You said, we can't go to the bar. What do you mean?
I said we couldn't go to the bar. I didn't rat you out.
We can't leave the hotel room. What are you talking about? I said, well, I'm going to go get some beer because I'm not watching the Super Bowl without drinking beer. I mean, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, you can't do that.
I love how, I don't remember it going specifically this way, but yes, I appreciate the.
I'm like, listen here, you rat fuck. I'm going to go get some beer. We're staying at the Courtyard by Marriott in Stillwater, Oklahoma. He was so uncomfortable. He watched the Super Bowl in the bedroom of the hotel. I watched it in the living space because I was cracking Miller Lights, drinking them, having a great time, and he was nervous as shit.
That did not actually take place.
Just for the record.
Give us your version of that.
Well, I only remember watching the Super Bowl with the team in Lawrence, Kansas, because that was when the Packers won the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, and I remember sitting at the hotel like lobby area because we all wanted to watch the Super Bowl together, and then I remember being like, oh, Andrew wants to drink beers, and I was like, we're on a road trip. Like, you were a very good football player. I was like, I'm not going to be partaking in the beer part. But I supported it, and I definitely did not rat you out, though. That's for sure. You can admit that I did not rat you. I was cool with everything you did.
He actually turned me in, too, because they took our cell phones the night before the games.
They did do that.
And I gave him a fake cell phone. Because how else was I going to text all the chicks and let them know what bar I was?
See, some of this stuff I'm just learning.
Did he give you a burner?
He might have. You might have.
So what led to the scar? Who's going to tell this story?
I can tell the story.
Okay.
This is how it goes.
He was a smart ass.
No. So whenever, we would go to, walk through or, something where it wasn't like we were physically, in practice. It was like we had a walk-through at Texas A&M. We're on the bus, and multiple guys will attest to this. We would get on the bus, and if Andrew hadn't gotten his physicality out in practice, he'd just come up to you and just hit you in the shoulder on the bus and put you in a headlock on the bus, and it was just kind of okay,
Because I wasn't a pussy.
Right, exactly. So we get back to the hotel, and I remember this vividly. We're walking to the elevator. It's just me and Andrew, and I could tell Andrew just wants to rough house. I could just tell. I'm like, I know it's. So we get in the elevator. He stands right next to me. He's shoulder to shoulder. And he just gets his key card out. I'm getting ready to walk out, and he was joking. And he goes to my neck, and he cuts the side of my neck with his key card. And there was legit, like, there's some blood.
Because you have thin skin.
Because I have thin skin.
So why did you do that?
Yeah, why did you do that?
What happened? What led up to that?
Because he doesn't like to participate in the stuff that I enjoy participating in. I mean,
But I did support it. I just didn't partake.
So Jared and I actually knew each other in high school. So
true.
I think maybe the first time we ran into each other was at an Oak Park homecoming dance or something. And, I'd look over in the corner and I'd be like, who's the tall guy over there just drinking the punch while I'm out here, dancing, having a good time. Like, oh, that's Jared. He's the guy on the basketball team. Because at the time, weren't you originally go to UCM?
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't that your original?
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's going to UCM to play basketball. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to Mizzou to play football. I'll just take all the girls in. And he was over in the corner eating popcorn, drinking punch.
Popcorn.
I'm having a good time. Everyone was like, damn, this guy's awesome. I wish he didn't go to Smithville. I wish he went to Oak Park because, Jared's kind of lame and you're awesome.
Everybody's got a story. It's whatever. How I remember it, he was friends with a group of girls that were a year younger than me. So
all the girls that went to St. Charles.
All the girls that went to St. Charles. So Oak Park was a great high school. We had great people all throughout high school that great time, a lot of fun. And the first time I remember actually meeting you was at I think it was post homecoming. There was a party at one of the girls' house, and I remember thinking, okay, there's Andrew. I think you had committed already, possibly, or I knew you were going to Mizzou.
Probably out of control.
Yeah, and I remember I had seen you play basketball like the week because it was the William Jewell tournament. I think and I remember you had gotten into it with somebody, and I'm like,
that's a shock.
I was like, I'm never ever messing with that guy. There's no chance I'm messing with that guy. And then I run into him at a party after the homecoming dance. I'm like, maybe I should stay with him.
But it was good? You guys were good?
Yeah, but then when he got on the basketball team, I still was like, I met Andrew, I knew Andrew, but then once he made the basketball team, it was awesome because he brought something that was totally unique to what we kind of needed, and he really did a nice job in his role too.
When they told you were going to be roommates, were you like, oh shit,
oh
boy?
I was like, I think it'll be great. It'll be. There's going to be a lot of things. There's going to be a lot of stories.
I'm going to learn so much.
I mean, I wish I could, like Tony said earlier, I wish I could remember a lot of the stories, but definitely the ones I remember most is just I'm like, Andrew's bored. I know he's bored. He wants to go do something, right? I think it was Omaha NCAA tournament when we shot pool. We went out and shot pool.
Oh, yeah, I forced him to come shoot pool with me and drink a couple beers. He's like, we can't drink any beers.
I didn't drink beers. We're on the NCAA tournament. We're getting ready to play.
We have a game in 4 days. How can we have a couple beers and shoot pools?
I went and shot pool. I was like, I can't drink beers on the road trips, man.
How am I supposed to look like
Bad
a Ken
things
Barbie
happen.
doll?
There's Mizzou. There's I'm like, I can't be drinking. But we did go. That was a good time though.
Yeah, we shot pool, had a good time, and
it was just us two.
Then I didn't see him for a couple of years, and then I saw him at a Chiefs game not long after that. And for some reason,
can you first tell what you were wearing at the Chiefs game? Do you remember possibly what you were wearing?
Can you give me a hint?
There was some jorts, some jean shorts. There was a cutoff. There was maybe a cowboy. You look like Jared Allen.
I don't have a fucking cutoff or jorts.
I think
Are you fucking with me?
No, I'm not.
So what happened at the game?
Because I'm like, I choked him unconscious in the concession stand line.
What? No, wait. So you saw him in the concession stand line.
Not unconscious.
Did he see you?
He did choke me in the.
So you walked up to him and just choked him out?
I walked behind him so I could go. I give him a surprise attack.
I was in a great conversation, getting ready to go to the concession stand, and next thing I know,
he can't breathe.
A man puts his arm around my throat.
You didn't know it was him.
And my friends are like, "What the?" Freaking out, like, "What's going on?"
Because
then I turn around and I'm like, "Okay." Yeah.
Because the friends that Jarrett runs around with, if he was getting choked out, they would just get scared and run off. The friends I run around with,
not true.
If I got choked out, they would retaliate, so I wasn't unconscious.
Fair. So, I did not lose consciousness, for the record.
Right.
It was a strong grab. It was a strong grab. Yeah, it was a strong grab.
Should we reenact it for film?
No, please don't.
So we're done with our special Mizzou podcast. I don't know what was just said over the past 2 hours, but I think it was entertaining. And again, all because we're down here at J. Rieger and Company Distillery for the 6 Columns Bourbon release, now available in stores all over the city on both sides of the state line. And so I want to thank you, Jared Sutton. You're a valuable contributor and member of the Sports Radio 810 family and our podcast, House of Hustle. Andrew Jones, you're a good friend. that of mine that we text back and forth bullshit on game days, and we stress out with each other about whether or not Mizzou's going to win or why the fuck did he throw that ball to a 350-pound defensive lineman. We're not going to get into that. But now after this performance, you were going to be a regular guest now. You're going to be part of the Hot Mic with SSJ universe.
Because, well, Jarrett and I, we only got 12 minutes. Brock and I got 45.
Well, he wants to leave.
I have to leave. It's not a want to leave. I have to leave.
He's got to go.
I've got bones to pick. I got issues to solve.
That's why we have episode 2.
That's why you're
you come
on
back.
Hot
We
Mic.
got a lot of other issues that I need to talk to Jarrett about.
Will you come back if you
This
know
is
he's
why
gonna
we
be
were
there?
so great as roommates right here. We had long talks and conversations.
Right.
I grabbed him by the shoulder over there, and I said, why you got to leave? He said, well, my wife has to make me dinner.
No. I'm going out of town for work.
He's a newlywed.
I'm a newlywed.
Beautiful
and
wife.
We have dinner the night before I go out.
That's right. You know what? That's
it's a
exactly
date.
right.
You know what my wife told me tonight? We've been married 10 years.
Stay
She said-
gone.
No, she said, I'm so proud of you. You're taking an Uber all the way to the radio show.
That was good. I was proud of him too.
I'm very proud
All
of
right, so that's Andrew Jones. That's Jared Sutton.
Before we wrap it up, in case my dad, Big Carl, is listening, he's been
Carl.
dealing with some bad dementia. I hope to be able to have you listen to this tomorrow. And plus, my sister's coming home in April, so we got some big news coming to the Jones house there in Parkville. So stuff's moving, stuff's going good. We're excited. We're going to get a win Friday night against Memphis, a win Saturday against Tennessee, kick the shit out of him.
Right.
Heupel will probably cry, and he'll look even fatter and uglier than he really is.
Wow. Oh my God.
And we're going to move on.
Mike.
10-2. Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
Hot Mike with SSJ. Andrew Jones will be back again for another episode. That's Jared Sutton for Tony Temple and for Brock Christopher. Thank you to Jay Rieger and Company
Thank you, Jay
Distillery.
Rieger.
Thank
Way to go,
you.
Jay Rieger. This
6
place is
columns,
awesome.
baby. Let's go.
This place is
Until
awesome.
next episode, the microphone, thank God, is off.